to help keep
Just a short week ago, we only had one named storm in the Atlantic. That was Alex. And then in less than a week's period, we got three named storms: Charlie, Bonnie, and now Danielle, our newest named tropical storm in the Atlantic. Of course, the big news is Bonnie, and that highlights our tropical update. This is the Tropical Update. Thank you for joining us. Here's the latest information on Bonnie. As of 2 a.m., the National Hurricane Center placing Bonnie about 540 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Winds are at 115 miles per hour, which makes Bonnie a Category 3, which is a major hurricane on the Safford-Simpson scale. Bonnie continues to move off to the north-northwest at about 9 miles per hour. Our minimum central pressure up to 963 millibars from the 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time update. And certainly Bonnie bears watching as it continues to move off to the northwest, perhaps affecting the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The latest strike probabilities continue to point towards the central North Carolina coast. And with that in mind, the National Hurricane Center has issued hurricane advisories from Savannah up to the North Carolina-Virginia border. If you have interest anywhere along the Carolina coast or the Georgia coast, please keep a watchful eye to Bonnie as it continues to move off to the north very slowly. And the slower these storms move, the harder it is to forecast their movement. And so certainly we will keep a close, watchful eye on Hurricane Bonnie, a Category 3 storm in the Atlantic. And as the Bahama Islands are concerned, they have been downgraded to just tropical storm watches from hurricane watches. Heavy surf advisories in effect as far south as Jupiter Inlet. Riptide's a problem along the Georgia coast and the Florida coast, and we are seeing weak waves of thunder showers kind of emanating from the center of Bonnie, moving across northeastern Florida and through central Florida. So increased amounts of thunderstorms activity, particularly overnight, across the northeastern coast of Florida. Let's take a look at our satellite image of Bonnie. Not a very impressive storm system. Our satellite loop takes a little jog here, forgive us for that, but you can basically see no central eye to Bonnie, and the southwestern part of Bonnie showing lots of shear, a very strong southwest wind associated with Bonnie, tearing the storm apart on the west and the southwestern part of it. You really don't see that much convection southwest of the center of Bonnie, all the convection north and northeast of the center of Hurricane Bonnie. Well, Bonnie's not the only storm that we're talking about in the Atlantic. We have a new tropical storm, Danielle. As of 11 p.m., here was the coordinates for Danielle, located at 14.9 north, 40.7 west. Danielle's better than 1,000 miles east of the Lesser Antilles, moving to the west-northwest at about 21 miles per hour. Our minimum central pressure at 1,005 millibars. Danielle's a much smaller storm, naturally, just newly formed out here in the central Atlantic. You can definitely see the upper level anticyclonic flow associated with Danielle, and that's a good sign, favorable for development as it continues its westward progress. This storm originated off the west coast of Africa, caught up in the intertropical convergence zone, and continues its westward track close to the ITCZ, and this storm certainly bears watching as it continues to move off to the west-northwest into the warm tropical waters of the Atlantic. We also have some interesting weather of note to speak of down in the Caribbean, southwest of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Circulation kind of showing up here on our infrared satellite image. This certainly bears watching. Earlier, when Bonnie was closer to this circulation down in the Caribbean, we really weren't expecting any development. But now that Bonnie is jogging farther to the north, that kind of lends for development in the Caribbean. And should this develop, it likely would intensify as water temperature is very warm and a broad anticyclonic flow at upper levels of the atmosphere, which is favorable for development of tropical systems. Let's head to the Pacific, where we have a very pretty storm, Hurricane Howard, located about 630 miles southwest of Cabo San Lucas, maximum winds at 125 miles per hour. Howard is just a picture-perfect storm as far as our infrared satellite image concerned, a very well-defined eye and a very well-defined outflow to Howard as it moves off to the west-northwest into cooler waters of the Pacific. Well, that's a complete look at our tropics here for Tuesday morning. And next, we'll take a look at some very active thunderstorms in the Great Lakes region.
Witness the power of the tarot.
With over 22 years of tarot experience, I have witnessed amazing changes. As an expert in this ancient oracle that dates back thousands of years, I will tell you everything you should know. Call now and you will be dealt your very own special tarot cards. Be prepared for an extremely accurate and revealing reading. Tarot cards should not be underestimated. These powerful cards may make all the difference in your life. They have ancient spiritual powers to change lives, reveal fortunes, even generate wealth. As an expert in this ancient oracle, I may reveal money matters, romantic encounters, how to avoid costly mistakes, your future happiness, and how to achieve your dreams. I want the cards to work for you and answer your questions. But you must call now.
Caution, a tarot card reading may be very personal and intense. Be prepared for amazing revelations. Call this special free number now.
Call 1-800-53...
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Storm Watch. We are watching several systems. One tropical storm has developed overnight across the Atlantic. It's about 1,200 miles east of the Lesser Antilles. That's Tropical Storm Danielle. Of course, we continue to watch Hurricane Bonnie just off the coast of Florida. Well, it's about 500 miles south of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. And also we are watching a hurricane in the eastern Pacific. Its name is Howard. We'll talk about all three of those systems coming up. Also a severe weather watch in effect across the northern parts of Ohio this morning, as we've had very violent, intense storms move across the region with winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. So nearly hurricane force winds with some of the storms over the lower Great Lakes. We'll talk all about that in just a moment. Right now, though, let's get the latest as we begin our edition of Storm Watch with the Tropical Update. This edition of Storm Watch, by the way, is sponsored by Rayovac. We have the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center on Hurricane Bonnie. Now, it centers the storm at this hour, 28.1 degrees north, 74 degrees west, and that makes it 500 miles south of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Now, Cape Hatteras is right about here, and it is pretty much due south of the coastal areas. Winds of 115 miles an hour, so that makes this hurricane still a Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It is moving north-northwest at 9 miles an hour, and the estimated lowest central pressure, 963 millibars. You notice the track of Hurricane Bonnie over the last couple of days. It stayed east and north of the Lesser Antilles here, north of Puerto Rico, and it even stayed east of the Bahamas. Now, the government of the Bahamas has discontinued all tropical storm and hurricane warnings that were in effect earlier this morning, but now we have an increased advisory along the coast of North Carolina. It is now a hurricane warning opposed to a hurricane watch from earlier this morning. This hurricane warning extends from Morrell Inlet in South Carolina all the way to the Virginia border, and a hurricane watch in effect for the coast of South Carolina. Now, this hurricane is forecast, if it continues on the same track, to move closer towards the central coast here, the Outer Banks of North Carolina by tomorrow afternoon. If it does, of course, go a little left of the official forecast track, then we might have to issue hurricane warnings a little farther south along the coast. All eyes, though, will be focused on Hurricane Bonnie as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours. Again, all of the warnings and watches for the northern Bahamas have been canceled as the system is slowly moving away. Heavy surf advisory still in effect, though, from the coast of Georgia down to Juniper Inlet, the southeast coast of Florida, because Bonnie has been really generating large swells, and that's impacting the southeast coast this morning. Not as organized as earlier, or certainly this time yesterday morning when this system was more symmetrical. as we had the overcast dense clouds just basically right around the center. But now it looks as though the deepest convection, or the broader, the heavier cloud tops, or the higher cloud tops, are to the north and east of the center here. This seems to be the center right here, but you can notice all of the deep convection on the north and east side of the center, and this could impact stronger storm surge and storm surge flooding along the coast of North Carolina as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll keep you posted on this Category 3 hurricane Bonnie here in the Atlantic. Of course, we have Tropical Storm Danielle. Now, Danielle is expected to become a hurricane within 48 hours. It's packing winds now of 50 miles an hour. You can see it's centered 1,200 miles east of the Lesser Antilles, and its lowest pressure 1,000 millibars. Now, it looks as though we're beginning to see a clearly symmetrical satellite presentation from this particular tropical storm. Again, it is forecast to become a hurricane as we go through the next 48 hours or so. Definitely watching this tropical storm for you as well. Now, Hurricane Howard is expected to weaken as it moves over cooler waters and away from the Mexican mainland. More next.
Hurricane Bonnie won't make a move we don't know about. We're working behind the scenes and in the field to bring you the very latest. Watch Weather Center on the hour and half hour.
This program was sponsored by Rayovac Rechargeable Alkaline.
Batteries.
Video games don't just blast through your batteries, they blast through your money. That's why you should arm yours with Rayovac Maximum Alkaline. They pack long-lasting alkaline power but cost less.
How about a little one-on-one?
Rayovac Maximum.
I challenge you to a little one-on-one.